Yeah. What's happening, family? It's the Wins again, and we are back with another video.
Back with another video.
Baby, what are we talking about today?
That's my best British accent, by the way.
I see.
It's not pretty good, but anyways.
Well, all right.
So today we're talking about dating multiple people as a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had this conversation when we recorded last time, and it was a bit difficult because we had the whole 1 minute constraint of social media and shorts. But we knew it was a longer discussion, so we did like segments on it in shorts and in reels. But I said, we should just have a conversation, long form for those on YouTube, and we can have a more thorough discussion on dating multiple people at the same time.
Yep, so we did post this on Instagram. We had a 4-part series with a bonus clip. So WynnAtLove on Instagram if you want to check that out. But we're about to dive into it right now. Dating multiple people at the same time as a Christian. So baby, how about you take it away, lay the foundation, and then let's move forward into the conversation.
Okay, so first let's define what dating is, okay? The context of what we're speaking about, because in Christian culture, it's, depending on what space that you're in, it's controversial to date multiple people at the same time. When we are discussing dating, we're not discussing it from a worldly perspective of, physical intimacy, having sex, things like that with different people at the same time. That's not what we're encouraging. We're talking about dating as a catch-all term for the in-between, right? So it's vetting and getting to know different people at the same time. There's not, when we're talking about dating in this concept, it's not that you have 2 or 3 boyfriends, because we don't really believe in boyfriends. Personally, for me, I was not a fan of boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't care about that. I think that's pretend husband and wife, but that's my opinion.
Right, sure.
I rather commit to a type of courtship that is leading to marriage. But boyfriend, girlfriend, to me, it's just confusing for me. So anyways, when we're saying dating, we're saying getting to know different people at the same time. There's no solid commitment just yet. This is not like, oh, this is my boyfriend, and then tomorrow this is my boyfriend, and we're all one big happy family. That's not what we're saying. You might go on a date with one person, right? Get to know them one day. Maybe, get to know another person, go on a date another day. And you're still trying to vet and figure these people out so that you can make the best choice for marriage.
Was that another person's?
Huh?
So you said go on a date with one person one day, and then you said another day. Was that another person
well,
another day?
I'm saying this is how dating multiple people at the same time could look.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
That, let's say, for me as a young lady, let's say I'm just out and about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a young gentleman approaches me, let's say on Monday.
Sure.
Right? Says, hey, I'd like to get to know you. Let's go on a date, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, maybe you're at the mall shopping or something.
At the mall something. Someone approaches me, or maybe you're on online dating, whatever the case is.
Sure.
Then let's say Wednesday, a whole different person approaches me, or I connect with them, and the same thing. Hey, I would like to get to know you. Let's go on a date. Now, am I now going to drop that first person for the second person? Because I still don't know either of them well enough. So I'm going to date both of them at the same time. As a young lady, right?
Sure.
I'm kind of like leading into like the conversation, but
so when you say dating date both of them at the same time, sort of kind of flesh that out for our viewers, because I don't have an understanding of what that means, so I'm sure they don't have an understanding of what that means.
You
either.
Understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, explain it to us.
Well, you got to ask me, you got to probe me so that I can answer the right questions for the viewers.
So when you say you were asked out on Monday and you were asked out on Wednesday, and you will date both of them at the same time, what does that look like?
Well, at the same time, meaning that in the same time frame, in the same time period. So I might go on a date with one gentleman on Friday night, and then on Saturday, I might go on another date with someone completely different.
Okay.
So technically, I'm getting to know 2 people at the same time.
Okay.
That's
so
what I'm trying to say.
How do you do that honorably?
I would say have your boundaries, have your standards, because ultimately you haven't made a decision to commit to either of them yet. You don't know them. So how can I just drop one for the other and I don't know either of them? Well, I would have to just until we get to a point, until I just like, until I figure out, okay, we're not compatible, then I would just drop one honorably and say, hey, thank you so much for your time, but I don't think we're compatible. Wish you all the best. God bless you.
Okay, so then question, how does one date?
Wait. Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, because our viewers are going to have questions.
Okay.
Right? And we're talking about dating multiple people, but we haven't even set a foundation. How do you date? We gave a definition of dating, but how do you date?
You want to answer that or help me answer that?
Well,
I mean, I'm answering the question of dating multiple people, but now I thought I answered what dating is. Now you're saying how should we date?
how does a person date? Like, what does it mean to date?
What it means to date is to vet people for compatibility and date to marry. So
Okay.
if you have an idea in your mind, you prayed about it, you say, hey, this is the standard of man that I want, right? I want a man who is humble, who's God-fearing, who loves the Lord, who is hardworking, a great husband, great father. I want him to treat me like this, yada, 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 right? Okay, with that measure, you will go out into the world.
Okay.
And when a man approaches you, you have a standard in which you are vetting someone on.
Yeah.
Right now, not everyone has those standards written out plainly, but most people have an idea
Okay.
of what they're looking for. So you might have two.
Should they write them out?
They should.
Okay.
But I'm saying, in the whole case of dating multiple people, let's say they didn't, but they know what they're looking for. You might see a young man and he might be handsome, he was polite, but you don't know him enough to make that call.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You might need to go on a couple of dates, and then you might find a major misalignment in values, and you're like, well, like, he was a great guy. It's nothing against him. He might even be a believer. Both of them might be believers, but this one is just not right for me.
Sure.
So after a while, you might let one of them go and say, hey, thank you for your time, X, Y, and Z. But you may not catch that major misalignment immediately. And if you have multiple suitors at the same time, right? And I think this is just different for women because women are approached. Men are the ones who have to invest to make a move. But as a young woman, if I'm approached, by multiple men in the same time or in the same time frame, right? I still have to do my due diligence and flesh it out, give them a chance. Okay. Sure, let's go on a date. Let's see where this goes. And I think everyone's process is different on how they do that.
Okay, so two things. One, you said that they may be a believer. I think that they
Oh,
perhaps should be a believer.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I was just saying that in the context of people think that just because someone is a believer, that automatically makes them compatible.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I made that reference because I'm like, they may be a believer too. Both of them may be believers, not, but just because they're believers,
Right.
that doesn't mean that you're compatible with every believer. I don't think that
Right.
a lot of believers have come to that understanding. They think, because he's Christian and he's celibate, the end. And he's in
Right.
the church, the end.
Right.
It should work.
Right.
But there's so much more to life than just your spirituality,
Right.
right? Like, you actually have to say yes to this person every single day.
Right.
So when you're not in church, when he's not serving, who is this person? Do you
Right.
like him
Right.
as a human being, not just as someone who is another brother in the Lord?
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Okay. So they should be a believer, but just because they are a believer doesn't automatically make you compatible.
Yeah.
That's just one thing, perhaps even the base of many things that determine compatibility.
Exactly. That's
Right.
not the end all be all.
Right.
So some women are literally only looking for a man who's a believer and waiting till marriage, and that's it. And we even had a question. Someone had that question. They said, I'm dating this guy and he's a believer. No, I think it was two men. I actually forgot. But I know one man, she said, it was two or three guys at the same time, I think she was confused about. One man, he was a Christian and he was celibate.
Yep.
But she was not attracted to him. And
Right,
she was
right.
She wasn't attracted to him. And she was just with him simply for that fact. They didn't have anything compatible. She felt like she was more compatible with other men. Right? But because he was a believer and he was celibate, okay, so she just stuck around with him.
Right. And the other two men weren't believers, right? Or maybe one was. Certainly one wasn't, I think.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'd have to go back in our in the message.
Sure.
But I just know that it was like 2 or 3. Remember?
Yeah.
2 or 3 men that she.
Certainly, one was a believer, and he was celibate.
Yes, that was the one that she was entertaining.
Right.
However, she was not.
She was not attracted to him,
and she didn't have any chemistry.
Right. Exactly.
So she had mentioned other men.
Right. That she was attracted to.
Yes, I don't remember if they were believers or not, or if they were celibate or not. I don't remember.
Well, they weren't celibate.
Okay.
Right. They were attractive, but they weren't celibate.
So you remember it better than I do. I just remember the one that she was entertaining that she elaborated on.
Yeah. The one that she was entertaining was a believer, was celibate, which is what he wanted, which is what she wanted, but he was not attractive. She was not attracted to him.
Yeah.
But the other two, either they were not celibate, and she was attracted to him, but I think that their believer status was in question, or maybe they were believers. It was something that was in question.
Something. I don't remember exactly what she had said.
Certainly, they weren't celibate. Maybe they was a believer and they was attractive, but he was not celibate.
Yeah, we would have to go, but
Yeah.
you're probably right.
Yeah. Okay. So they should be dating believers, but that's not the only thing that determines the compatibility. There are a whole host of other things that they should consider. Our viewers, you guys, should consider when dating. Being a believer is perhaps just the standard.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention, because you and I had 2 different stances in our series, and you, as a man, don't believe in dating multiple people at the same time.
Sure.
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, sure.
Our YouTube audience who wasn't there probably.
Sure, I do, but I do have one more question for you.
Oh, okay. What's up?
Yeah. So one thing that you mentioned was the believers, which we just talked about. The other thing that you mentioned, how long should you date multiple people? Because you believe in dating multiple people. How long should you date multiple people before you are able to say, hey, this person does not meet my standard?
Okay, well, for women and this whole roster dating thing, I don't believe that it's wise to have a roster indefinitely. I think that is from a place of scarcity, from a place of fear, and you lack a bit of honesty with yourself. I think whether you meet multiple people at the same time or you are entertaining a couple men at the same time, if you know what you're looking for, you should be able to vet them quickly based on your criteria. I don't think it's wise to just have an endless loop of men to like, oh, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna pick this one. Oh, okay. And it's just, I don't think, as a woman, truly, I mean, it just depends, but because everyone's process is different, you should know after a few conversations with someone if you are compatible, right? As a woman, you may not know yet, right? And if you go on a couple of dates, I think really at most 3 dates, at most, right? Now, if you do your due diligence on these dates, you're not just there for free food and you go home, right? But you are actually vetting this person as a potential suitor for marriage, as a potential husband, as a potential father. Ask the real questions from the jump.
Sure.
Right? So after a hot 3 dates, you should be able to trust your intuition as a woman and trust the Holy Spirit within you. I don't think this is going to work. I really want this to work. He's attractive, but I'm not really feeling it. I feel like this issue, X, Y, and Z. And if you do have a concern or an issue, bring it up. Say, hey, you said this. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? Oh, nah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You can just kind of gauge based on their reaction, based on their response. Okay, this person is just like that, right? Whatever misalignment of values, they're not confused. This is just who they are. This is how they think. This is what they want. We want 2 different things, right? So, for example, let's say this is the first thing that came to me because I was looking at homemaking today. Let's say you are a woman who wants maybe like maybe you want to be a stay-at-home mom, right? And this person is making it very clear that no, my wife needs to go to work and do 50-50, right, and contribute to the household income, and that's how it's always going to be, right? Let's just say this is just an example because this is what the streets are talking about right now.
Sure.
Now, let's say you want to be a homemaker and a stay-at-home wife. You're not compatible.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
There's no more conversations after that there's not. So you can ask like, hey, would you be open? Or you said this. Would you ever want a woman who's a stay-at-home mom? Nah, that's not for me. Okay, well, you got your answer. That's it. Move on. Right? So then you should cut it off at that point.
Yeah.
There's no point in keeping him in the roster because you want a free meal.
Yeah.
You got to check your heart
Yeah.
when it comes to dating multiple people to do it honorably, because you don't want to just be stringing people along when you know deep down this is not going to work. And I think after a certain point, whoever is in your roster, you should be drawn to one or none. If one of them sticks out from all the others and has great character, you need to cut the rest of them off, and you need to pursue forward and give your full attention to the person you're most compatible with. It doesn't make sense to drag these men along just because you want free stuff. I think that is not good. You know, like, I don't think that is very righteous, especially for the other person. Like, you're just
deceptive.
It's deceptive. Yeah, I don't believe in that. Now, if none of them, right, you feel none of them in your heart are compatible with you, then close the door on all of them. Don't leave any open doors, because again, like you said, it's deceptive. You know, none of these men are what I'm looking for. That's okay. Cut it. Cut it. And move forward. But you can't keep reopening doors without trying to close other ones. If you're just keeping them around, like, I think it's very unrighteous to string someone along until someone gives you a ring one day and then say, oh yeah, sorry, so I'm married, bye. So you're talking to 3 men and they're all courting you, they're taking you on dates, they're spending money on you, they're investing time in you, and you're just waiting until one of them gives you a ring. I think that is very unrighteous. You know what you're looking for. Don't string people along. If you know what you're looking for and this person knows what you're looking for, cut it. So that's why I give a bit of grace and gray area when it comes to dating multiple people, but ultimately you're trying to date to marry. And if you're trying to date to marry, you're not going to marry all of them. There's no point of going deeper in intimacy with all 3 of them at the same time. Cut it when you see a major misalignment in values. Process it however you need to process it. Work with the Holy Spirit however you need to work with the Holy Spirit, but you need to close doors.
Okay.
That was a whole monologue.
Well, this is what we have to give. Okay. So now we're going to have, some of you lovely ladies out here who are dating multiple men at the same time, and they have 2, maybe 3 men who are all qualified, who are all attractive, who are all good enough, and are presenting signs that they're wanting marriage. How do these women choose which doors to close and which man to pursue and give her undivided attention to?
So if all of these men are meeting a woman's standard, it really comes down to what preferences can you actually deal with, right? Because you're going to have to say yes to one of them every single day for the rest of your life. That's it. So what can you say yes to? So perhaps they're all God-fearing. Perhaps you all maybe share the same vision for your life. They're hardworking, ambitious, yada, yada, yada. Cool, right? There might be some preferences that they have that you may not want to entertain as a woman, right? And vice versa. Let me not say vice versa. Perhaps one of them is a great dude, godly, God-fearing, but he has 2 kids out of wedlock. That's you know what I'm saying? Like, that has nothing to do with his character. He's probably a great father.
Sure.
Right? But that's a preference that you may not want to take on. You may not want to foster another woman's kids.
Sure.
You may not want to have a blended family. You may not want. What if he has a bad relationship with his baby mamas?
Sure.
You may not want to deal with that.
Sure.
Right? And I feel like in cases like this, the Lord does lead us, right? But when you are at a point, you should pray about it. But I do think that the Lord does give you the jurisdiction. Like only you, because at the end of the day, only you can say yes every single day.
Sure.
God can't do that for you.
Sure.
God cannot say yes to marriage for you and keep you in that covenant.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like you have to say, you know what, I'm willing to commit to this person for the rest of my life and everything they come with.
Sure.
You know, with some men, well, let me not say some men, but okay, let's say if a man, again, likes a woman and she is $100,000 in debt.
Sure.
$200,000 in debt.
Sure.
$300,000 in debt.
Sure.
She may be an awesome woman.
Sure.
But that's a lot of debt.
It's a heavy burden.
That's a heavy burden, and
Sure.
not every man may be willing to take on that burden.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And again, this is where you would just have to say, okay, all these men have, you know, similar standard. But what about the preferences? Am I willing to negotiate or not agree to?
Sure. So once all the standards have been met, then it's like, okay, as you said, what preferences am I okay or willing to accept for the rest of my life and say yes to for the rest of my life? And that's how they make that judgment and determination. Awesome. Okay. Well, happy to hear that.
I mean, because everyone has different preferences, and I made a post earlier today about signs he's just not that into, and I just made a introduction to lead into the conversation that it is okay if someone is just not that into you.
Sure.
It is okay. You're looking for two different things in life, and that doesn't make that person a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make both of you bad for not picking each other. It's just choice, free will, right? So, you know, again, everyone just has preferences, and they don't have to accept everything that comes with you.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Especially if they have to say yes to you for the rest of their life. You know, so.
Sure. Okay. Well, great.
I want to hear you, babe.
Well, I think that you have spoken long enough, and perhaps we do a part 2, me answering the question, second video.
Why don't we just do it all in one?
All in one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's long form.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Listen, if it's half an hour, they're going to pop in their earphones, do their dishes, and listen to us.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So let's go ahead and dive into how I feel about it. Dating multiple people, in my opinion, at the same time, how I see it, I'm against it.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Okay. Now, as a man, I feel like for men and women, and I will explain why, dating one person at a time is going to be your best bet to choose the highest compatible person for you. Now, as a man, you know, when I dated, I went on dating apps. You know, I've met women out. And my whole goal was to let me take a woman out on a date and let me get to know who she is on this date. So let's take Jumoke, for example. I took her on a date. Our first date may have been maybe 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, I think.
Something like that.
We went out to eat to a nice restaurant, and we just sat down.
Memories.
Yep, and we had a conversation. And this is what I encourage, especially as a man. All men have the ability to vet a woman in the first conversation.
Yep.
So on your first date, within the first 3 hours, you can understand who a woman is, where she comes from, what her vision is, what she wants, what she's looking for, her family.
That's definitely what you asked me on the first date.
Exactly.
You said, what beckons your calling? What did you say? Something real poetic.
Something like that. Who knows?
He wanted to know what makes me feel alive. Like, what is my calling in life?
Yes.
That's what he asked. First date.
Yes, because I'm not here to waste time. So I want to see who you are to see if it makes sense for me to invest more of my time and energy and money and resources into you. And if it's a match, great. We will go on to the second date. And if that is a match, great. We will push forward to a third date. And we will continue pushing forward date after date after date until there is a misalignment of values that you or I identify. Now, I know I'm looking for a misalignment of values. So we're talking about, masculinity, femininity. We're talking about headship and submission. We're talking about...
Can you explain that? What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Masculinity, femininity, headship, and submission.
So masculinity and femininity, well, in dating, honestly, I don't have a good definition for this now. I know what I have been looking for. Okay, and that's all that I can go after. Now, if we're coming to definitions, I think that you would be better giving a definition for masculinity.
So they're probably going to be like, what's he talking about? Headship and submission, masculinity, femininity. Like, what were you looking for?
Traditional gender roles.
Okay.
I'm a traditional dude. I want my wife to stay at home, raise the family, and work in the family business. And I will go out. I'll make the money. I support the family. I assist in raising the children also. But traditional gender roles. This is me. This is what I was looking for. This is what I was set on. So if you think of a traditional gender roles, maybe 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, and 50s, this is what I was looking for in my life, and this is what I was looking for in a wife. Someone who also wanted that traditional gender role ideology. So when I say masculinity and femininity, I'm thinking of traditional gender roles of the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and even further back than that. That is what I am looking for, and that's what I was looking for. Now, what was the other thing that you said?
Headship and submission.
Headship and submission goes right into that. I mean, this is going to be more biblical. But, a husband loving his wife and the wife respecting her husband and, Christ being the head of the husband and the husband being the head of the wife. I was seeking this. This is what I was looking for. This was the headship and submission dynamic that I sought after as I was dating, which is in alignment with that traditional gender role ideology that I was also looking for in dating. So as I was going on dates with men and with women, and I was having conversations, understanding who they are, understanding their vision, what they're looking for in their life, I was hearing how much is this aligned with who I am and what I'm looking for. And if I heard anything that was out of alignment with this, that would be an automatic flag up to me that I need to investigate more. I need to ask more questions to understand who she is in this area. Not only this, things that were important to me, understanding like finances was important to me. What are your thoughts on finances, which are things that we talked about as we dated. This wasn't on the first date, though. I don't think we talked about finances on the first date, but maybe the second or third we had financial conversations.
We talked, I know for a fact, on our fourth date. We did? Yeah.
Sure. So I'm,
Because, the fourth date, we talked about joint finances.
We did.
On the fourth date. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm not here to waste time. I was looking for a woman who was compatible with me. And she wasn't the first woman that I went out on a date with, but when her and I did meet on our first date, after the first date, I said, okay, boom, I will invest time into her and I will get to know her. And the other women that I had matched on the dating apps or that I had went out on a date with in the past, I had already told them, hey, we're not going to work. But the women that I was matched with on the dating apps that I was on, I just turned my dating app off. And I think after a few weeks, I just deleted my dating app altogether, which is something that, we go back and forth with. Because he's like, why did you just delete the dating app? I wish I would have recorded screenshot.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I found who I wanted to be with. So there's no need for me to continue to be on this app. I will flesh this relationship out until I can't no more. And that's the point where we got married. But this is how I will recommend, especially for men, to date. One woman at a time, so that, one, you can understand who women are. Men don't understand who women are, Men don't know how to hang with women. Men don't know how to talk to women. Men don't know how to flesh out a woman's desires. So, as a man, if you're taking one woman out on a date at a time, this gives you time to flesh her out. And you don't entertain. Whoops.
Well,
all right.
We'll clean that up later.
All right. And you don't entertain other women while you're doing this so that you can. Baby, what's happening now?
Because, look, baby, what are we talking about?
It's all good.
Okay.
Okay. So you take one woman out on a date at a time and you entertain one woman at a time so that you understand how to hang with women, how to talk to women, how to get to know women, how to understand women. Because this will help you. The better you understand women, the quicker, boom. The quicker you're able to identify who's playing games, who's not, who's compatible, who's not. Especially when you have women who are dating multiple men at the same time, because you will come across women who are dating multiple men at the same time. And one piece of advice, men, is a woman who is interested in you will operate differently with you. So you will be able to know if a woman is interested in you, and when she's not, you'll be able to discern who she's entertaining. If she's entertaining other men outside of you, you'll be able to discern this. However, you have to understand who women are and how they operate in order for you to do so. Now, in terms of a woman, this is why I recommend women date one man at a time, ideally, because as a man, I know when your attention is divided. I know when I don't have your full attention. I know it. I can tell.
But then that's in the beginning, though.
It doesn't matter.
All right.
It doesn't matter.
I feel like that's a stretch to expect that when you just meet a person, you don't know her, and she doesn't know you.
A man who's serious is not going to be wasting time. He's not going to be wasting time.
Well, sure. I think. Okay, finish.
Okay, so when you meet a man, if y'all connect, personally, I'm going to recommend that you date this man to flesh him out and get to know who he is. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't, in the meeting of the man, you wouldn't have had conversations with other men. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the moment that you connect on the dating app with one man, turn your dating app off and that's it. No, what I'm saying is when you actually meet up on a date, not you're having different conversations with several men on dating apps. When you go out on a date with a man and y'all connect and both of y'all had a net positive experience, then hold your horses on going out on other dates with other men. This is what I recommend. And the way that you guard yourself, women, in this is you have a timeline that you're going to follow for next dates and for determining when this man is going to commit to you. So if you go out on a date and within a few days or a week or so, he's not like, hey, let's go out on another date, or he's not trying to plan another date with you sooner, okay, well then perhaps you might want to start opening yourself up back to other men and start closing this door because he's not moving quick enough, right? And you're not trying to waste your time. And this is how you guard yourself against men who are playing games, is by having a timeline in place. Maybe you want to go on a date once a week, at least, especially when you have a man that you have connected with. I think once a week is fair and reasonable, at least once a week. More is great. Anything less than once every 2 weeks is extremely questionable, and I would question if this man is ready or serious for a relationship or dating or marriage. Because a man who is ready will invest time into it. Now, he might be busy, he might have work, but a man who's interested in you will make time for you. This is for sure. Mm-hmm. So this is how I approach dating, one at a time, and I vet it until I identify the misalignment of values and I say, hey, we're not going to work. That's my recommendation for men and women moving forward. Women, have this timeline in place to protect your heart. And men, you have to understand who women are so that you can vet quickly and so that you can identify which women are interested in you and which women are not. And this is my position and how I feel on dating multiple people at the same time.
It's good.
Yep,
That's
that's a
good, brother
Christian.
C.
Hallelujah.
That's good, brother C. I think it's wise what you're saying. Like, not accept, but like if you do like a dude, kind of take your time with that individual person until you discover a misalignment of values. What I said from the last time, two things. One, the reason why I don't feel like that is always beneficial for women. Sometimes it is. I mean, I know for me, I only dated one guy at a time, right? But I also acknowledged, like I said, I have a gift of discernment.
You were able to
Right.
vet quickly.
I was able to vet quickly. So technically, when I got on dating apps, I was dating multiple people at the same time, but I vetted all of them within a week, right? But I did entertain men, give them a conversation, maybe one or two, right? And different men conversations, because I was new to the dating world, but in the span of literally just 1 week, I think I had vetted a hot 7 men, maybe that I matched with, because I was getting too many matches. I just turned it off. I don't even know how people do it, y'all. I don't know how y'all do the dating apps. That's a whole part-time job. But anyways, for me, I like my peace. I like my sanity. You just saw me right now. I put my phone on D&D. My phone is always on D&D. Now it's not as much because of work, but I prefer my phone to be on D&D. I don't like my phone being blown up, especially without me being able to control how I get the information. Anyways, so I had a few conversations with them, and within a week, 7 men, all no. I closed the door on all of them. I said, we're not compatible. We're not socially compatible. We're not intellectually compatible. We're not physically compatible. I didn't even have to go on a date, really. I think I met up with one of them, but once it was a person, I said, oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? And the other ones, I just had one call, one video call, and I said, no. So, again, I didn't need to go on a date. I didn't need to invest my energy, my time for free food. I didn't need to do that. And then, because I vetted all of them so quickly and I closed the door, when I came back on and I reactivated my account, that's when you and I super liked each other, right? And you worked quickly. Now, if you didn't, I don't know, right? But from the time that we're on the app, you're like, okay, we super liked each other. We had planned to go on a date. You asked me on a date that week, and I said I was free the next day. We went on a date the next day. You impressed me so much. I said, well, I like him. So, So I said, oh, okay, well, let's see where this goes. I don't know. So, and I think that's just for me because of the type of woman that I am. However, that's me, right? And that's my process. I'm still able to acknowledge that not every woman's process is the same, right? And because a woman cannot marry herself and men hold access to dating, relationships, and marriage, sometimes, in certain cases, it may not be advantageous for a woman to just one man at a time, especially when it comes to age, because women have a biological time clock. So if you are just entertaining one man, you might have a risk management strategy in place. But let's say you wait 6 months, it didn't go anywhere. You open yourself up. Me and another guy, 6 months, it doesn't go anywhere. Right? That's a lot of time. Men have time. Men have time. Like, men are not in a rush at all to get married. So they will sit there and date a woman for years. Right? And a woman's like, okay, we're in a relationship. And so because everyone doesn't have that same type of discernment to vet as quickly as me or even you do, that's why I give a bit of space and grace, you know what I'm saying, for them to figure that out, because everyone's process is different. Not everyone is quick and be like, no. sometimes people need a bit of time to flesh it out. Now, I do think that as a young woman, even if you're on dating apps, or a man, well, let me not talk to men, I'm going to talk to women. I do think you should put a cap on how many men you're trying to juggle at the same time in the same time period. I don't think more than 3 is advantageous for any woman at one time, right? Because, again, the whole point is to vet and date to marry. So let's say if you match with 3 guys at the same time. Let's say you're new to this. Hey, I'm open. I want to get on dating apps and, see if my husband is there, what the Lord has for me. You might match with 3 men at that same time, right? And all of them might be good matches. They all invite you on a date. Technically, you're dating all of them at the same time. One of them, maybe immediately, you're like, nah, right? But the other 2, I'm not really sure yet. I don't know. They might invite you on another date. And, you just have a certain process until you're like, okay, I think just like I said, for any woman, even if you go that route, you do need to have a cutoff time, right? And you have to make a decision. I think some women are afraid to make a decision and they want life to make decisions for them, so they'll sit here and entertain all these 3 men and say, okay, whoever gives me the ring, what if all of them, just like you said, just leave you because you're playing games, right? They can tell that you're not fully invested in them. They're investing in you, but you're not committed to them. So then they leave. So then you're still lost, right? So I think after a certain point, it's hard for women, got to put on your big girl panties. You have to make a decision because it does not make sense to entertain more than 1 guy, I'm saying, after a certain period of time. You have to close that door. So I hear you. I think that's really wise, especially for a man, right? I mean, for women too, because, that's how I operate as well. If you and I, didn't connect or whatever the case, or, if we just decided to walk away from each other at any point in time, I would just go back into the dating market and start the process over again, right? But, yeah, all that to say, men...
Which that wouldn't happen, by the way. We do not believe in divorce, so...
What you mean?
You said if we were to walk away from each other at
I'm
any
talking
point
about
in
dating,
time.
baby.
Oh, well, you didn't clarify.
Oh, well, we're talking about dating, like in the courting and the vetting stage, like when
I didn't hear any past.
Okay.
Any past tense.
No, I want to leave you, baby.
Well, you stuck.
So I'm saying that, in the dating stage, if 2 people decide, hey, we're not compatible, or one person says, hey, we're not compatible, whatever, and you decide to walk away, okay, but you have to make a decision. You have to. You can't avoid not making a decision because it's not going to get you closer to the altar. For me, personally. I don't think it's advantageous for a woman because a man can just tell. You're not serious about him. That he's spending all this time, money, and resources on you, and you are not committed to the journey with him. You got to commit to the journey with one dude, have your risk management strategy, right? Like, okay, I'm going to commit to this one dude, give him all my time and attention. Out of all my matches, he was the best. He is the one who I can see this can work. Cut all the other ones off, focus solely on him. And the sooner you get to that point, the better, right? But in the beginning, you might be dating multiple people at the same time.
Sure. I think this is wise for women. In the beginning, juggling multiple, only because, as you said, you have the ability to vet quickly. I certainly vetted every woman.
Quickly.
First conversation. Unfortunately, well, we hope that everybody has the ability to do that, but some people haven't. It might be their first time out dating. It might be their first time in the dating market.
They don't know.
They have no idea what's happening.
They have no idea what's going on. They can't sense deception.
Right.
They're like, oh, but he's a nice guy. He goes to church and he prays over the food. Like, that's...
Yeah.
And some people don't even know the extent
Yeah.
to their standards.
Yeah.
Because many people's standards when they go into the dating market is super basic.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it's really low.
Yeah.
Right? Well, let me not say low. Let's just say average. They might just say, oh, I just want a guy who's nice and who's a believer, who loves the Lord and wants to have a family.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you date, you might realize, oh, hold on, I want a masculine man.
Right.
Right? I actually desire this. I want a man who, you know, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, this is the standard of a man that I want, who's X, Y, and Z. Like, I didn't know I had the standard before, but now I know just from dating.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, nah. This was like my bare minimum standard when I first got to the market. But after a couple of dates, I'm like, I think I want something a bit more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think my standards were a bit too low.
Yep.
And you might not know right in the beginning. Like, I think a lot of our audience, they fresh.
Sure.
They're fresh to dating because some people are still coming out of this whole ideology, right? That you wait and not date. You know, so some people are coming out of that place and are finally positioning themselves in the dating market, however that may be, maybe dating apps, maybe offline, whatever, speed, networking events, whatever the case is, right? And they just have no idea. Because truly and honestly, it was really easy back in the days, like in the 1900s, to literally just walk outside and get married.
Or easier.
Right? Well, easier, yeah. Super easy. Our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, super easy to get married.
Sure.
Because that was the standard.
Sure.
A man could not get sex or wife benefits without marriage.
Yeah. As easily.
Easily, yeah. He had to marry.
Yep.
So because that was the societal standard,
Yeah.
men had to go out and pursue women.
Yep.
But now, because that's not the societal standard, because of the sexual revolution, people, not just the church, but just in general, are getting married later and later or not at all.
Yep.
So it's not as easy to just like, well, I was outside, I went to my church, and, you know, like, how come I'm still not married? You actually have to be a lot more strategic to find those people who want marriage the way that you want marriage. Because in this day and age, most men in America... I don't know, I may be hesitant to say it, but I would, you know, based on what I'm seeing in social media, this may or may not be true, but it seems like men are not seeking marriage as much as they're seeking sex.
Yeah, I mean, men do not have positive marital influences in their life. Like as a society in a generation, men don't have that. Men have sex. That's what men have. That's the influence that men have today. Sex here, sex there, and then, you know, we have a more promiscuous culture today than we've ever had. You know, in history of mankind. So the entry, like the standard or the level, what a man has to give. The bar for sex is lower today than it has ever been. Right.
Women are having sex for free.
Yeah, women are having sex for free, for fun. Yes.
You don't have to take them on a date.
Right.
You don't have to invest them. You don't even have to buy them flowers nowadays.
All you gotta do is hang out. And be cool and be a attractive guy in some form, attractive to that woman.
Yeah, they don't even have to court you. Nothing.
Nothing.
They don't have nothing.
Right, and you can have sex.
Yeah.
And that's how society is today. Whereas 100 years ago, you were not hanging out at somebody's house having sex like that. That was not the case.
And also, the family system was a lot different. The family dynamic. Like, I think I said this to you earlier, that you had more two-parent households.
Yes, you did.
Years ago.
You did.
So you had fathers in the home, and they were more likely to be protectors as well as providers. So they were more protective of their daughters. Like, oh, who's your boyfriend? I got the shotgun. Let him talk to me. Right?
Exactly.
And you hear like these little stories of like, you know, girls sneaking out. Like, women had to sneak out to hang out with their boyfriends. They had to sneak out. But now it's like I said earlier to you, that you have parents and moms and giving their daughters condoms. Like, oh, I mean, as long as you're protected, it's okay. So you don't have people who are actually pushing marriage, prioritizing marriage, or seeing it as sacred anymore. People don't see marriage and sex sacred anymore.
They don't. So it's been lost.
Exactly. So all this to say that you have to be way more intentional of positioning yourself in front of people who want marriage.
Yes.
In this
yes.
day and age,
100%.
because back then, like I said, majority everybody was married.
Yes.
But now, like, I'm giving this is not...
Or seeking marriage.
Yeah, or seeking marriage. I'm giving you an example. This is not fact. This is not research. But let's say back then, you have 90% of people were married or sought marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say it's down to 40%.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, back then, because there were so many people who desired marriage, you really could just walk outside, find marriage.
Yeah,
right?
I think that in the 1950s, or I think between the 40s and 60s, somewhere around there, I think black people, the marriage rate was 70%.
Yeah.
And
this
now,
is like the civil rights era and stuff.
Yes.
The 60s,
And now I think it's like 30%.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a huge dip. 30%.
Yeah.
That is it. So, I mean, you have the facts. I don't.
Now,
But,
there's a lot that you can attribute to that.
of course, racism, systematic racism, things like that.
Right, right. Incarceration, etc.
Sexual revolution.
Right,
You know?
right,
So,
right.
of course. But it's just to say, regardless of the outside, influences, the facts remain the same. People are getting married less and less.
Less and less, and later and later.
Exactly. So
Yep.
this is why this whole wait and not date movement, we're pushing against that because it's not as easy.
Oh,
right?
no.
Like to sit around and
No.
wait.
No, yeah.
Like you're giving 1920s solution
Yeah.
to a new millennium problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
That wait and just wait at church and God's going to send you someone at your front door. Back then it could happen. Listen, I watched The Notebook. She was minding her business with another dude. That man jumped on a Ferris wheel. Hey, will you go on a date with me? Like while she was with another dude.
Yeah.
Man, don't do that no more.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't just sit around and
Yeah.
just find a man. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Right? Especially for the majority of women. So if there's only 30%
Yeah.
of people who are married, or I'm giving this arbitrary number again, but who are seeking marriage, you have to be very intentional about how you position yourself in front of those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
that might include dating apps, because that
Yeah.
a high concentration of marriageable people are in one place.
Yeah, I mean, 50% of relationships right now are starting on dating apps.
Yes.
50%, 1 in 2.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In the United States.
In the U.S.
Yeah.
Right, in the U.S.
So,
1 in 2.
I mean, dating apps may not be for everyone, but again, you really have to understand the climate that we live in, and everything is not just going to be, oh, I went outside with my girls to a restaurant and nobody approached me. Well, why would they? Right? Right? Like, what? Oh, no man approached me. Well, how do you know any men in here even want marriage? How do you even, like, you have to be so much more strategic as a woman
Yeah.
to position yourself in front of men who want marriage.
Yeah.
Because not every man wants marriage. Most men are looking for just sex.
Sex, right.
Yeah.
And the men who would approach,
We're having a juicy conversation.
yeah. There aren't very many men who approach women today. There
no.
still are. There are a few.
Would you ever approach me in the wild?
Hold on. I'm not even sure if we're still recording.
Hey!
Okay, so maybe you asked me, would I have approached you in the wild? Yes. I would have approached you in the wild. Now, I have a word of caution for women who have men approach them in the wild. It is a rarity today to have men approach, because how a lot of relationships are formed, well, 50% of them are on dating apps, and a lot of them might be friend groups, activities. I meet you through a friend, or
outside of that 50% that meets on dating
outside
apps.
of the 50%,
Yeah.
it's, hey, you're a friend of a friend, or hey,
Mutual friends, yeah.
right, mutual friends, or maybe I do this hobby or this activity frequently, and I might meet somebody while I'm out doing this activity. Like, for example, I'm a dancer. So before I got married and before we moved out here to Vegas, I went dancing every single week. And the dance scene, in Atlanta is just full of singles. So you get to know people as you see them every week dancing, and you might ask somebody out on a date there, which is very different than I see you at the mall, and I see that you're attractive and I approach you. That's very different than I've seen you several times over a few weeks out dancing, and then now I say, hey, we got a vibe. I'd like to take you out.
There's a greater risk, you think, for a man to approach a woman in the wild that he doesn't know?
What do you mean a greater risk?
Like, what you're saying with how it kind of operates now, it's like they've seen them a few times.
Yeah, so it's a higher level of comfort.
Yeah, you don't know a woman just from seeing her at the mall, like who she is.
Yeah. Yep.
But but if you observe her over time, you kind of have a better feel of who she is, and it gives you confidence to approach her.
Yeah. So when a man approaches a woman in the wild, he is approaching her strictly off of her beauty, and nothing else. Strictly off of her beauty, and he is wanting something from her beauty. He's not like, oh my gosh, she has a nice character. I want to get to know her. He's like, oh, she is hot. Let me see who she is. And he has something in mind, and it may not be marriage. So, ladies, women, keep that in mind. It's not like being approached is a bad thing. But know that he's approaching you strictly off of your looks and your beauty and what you have on and his attractiveness to you. And he has something in his mind that he's searching for. So just hold that in the back of your head whenever you're approached randomly by a stranger. That there is something that he's searching for, and that's why he approached you. So just keep that in mind.
That was juicy.
Yep.
So you would have approached me in the wild.
I would have approached you in the wild. I would have approached you in the
Based on
wild.
what you're saying.
Well, I would have approached you in the wild. I mean, you had what I was looking for.
Okay.
Every man is looking for something different, and every man will approach you for something different. So just be mindful for you women who are approached. Be mindful of that. The man is approaching you for a reason. Be mindful of that.
This is a juicy conversation, even though the battery died.
Yeah.
Sometime through.
Right.
Conversation.
Right. So the battery did die. That's why you saw a frame of us for the past maybe 5 or 10 minutes or so, and now we're back here recording. So, any last words, baby, on dating multiple people at the same time as a Christian woman, let's say?
I'd say use your discernment. Okay, and if you don't have it, pray for it. Just ultimately, before you date, right, you just need to know what you are looking for. What are you looking for? What are your standards? What kind of vision do you have for your life? What are your high and low preferences? You need to know that before you step into the dating market. Intentionally. Okay? Because back then, you didn't have to step out intentionally. It could be mind your business, be single, and the next day you're married. And you weren't even planning for it. So now you have to be a bit more intentional. And the other thing I would say is close doors quickly. Close doors quickly. Don't be deceptive. Don't be... Because it comes from scarcity. Don't have a scarcity mindset when you're dating. Oh, but what if this doesn't work? So I have to hold on to him. That's not godly. We walk by faith, not by sight. You have to just make a decision. Like it can't be, it might. If you know what you're looking for, it's either someone has it or they don't. It's either you can say yes to this person, no to this person, or none to none of them. Or no to none of them. So know what you're looking for. Vet men quickly. Close doors quickly. And commit to the journey with one man, ultimately, right? Commit to that journey with them. Have your risk management strategy. How long are you going to commit to them until they start playing games or you find a major misalignment in value, whatever the case is? Have that in place so that you are not wasting your time, because you don't want to find yourself in a 6-year relationship and then it doesn't work out and you waste the 6 years of your time. Like, as a woman, women do not have that time. You cannot waste years of your time. So you have to be very strategic and intentional about who you choose to spend your time with and who you choose to have access to you. Yeah. Yep.
Men, I would say use your time wisely and vet women with diligence. Take your time understanding who a woman is when you go out on a date. Don't just, take your time on the date. Get to know who she is. You want to, understand if this is a woman who you are compatible with. And as a man, if you're new to the dating market, I would say date for marriage. If you're not ready for marriage, I do not recommend that you date. And if you are dating for marriage, I would say if you are not interested in a woman, it should not take you any more than 3 dates. Let's say, honestly, you should know on the first date. But 3 to 6 dates, that's a whole lot for you to be not only wasting your time, but wasting a woman's time. If you don't know if you are compatible between 3 and 6 dates, then you are not asking the right questions, and you are not focused on the right things so that you can pull out of her the information that you need to vet her properly and see if you're in alignment. So 1 or 3 dates is ideal, no more than 6 dates with a woman, because the idea here is to get to know her. Understand women, understand who she is, to see if she is in alignment with what you want in the future, and then you move forward on in your life that way.
That was juicy. Good job, babe.
Awesome, appreciate it. Well, if you like this video, please go ahead, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button below, and baby, what else do you have for me?
Make sure you leave a comment, and make sure you follow us on our other platforms on Instagram, TikTok. Is that it?
That's it. Instagram.
Yeah, and our platform, our website, our community, WynnAtLove.
WynnAtLove.com.
Yeah, you go to WynnAtLove.com. You can hang out with us there. We equipped singles to date for marriage, and singles for
The Black
marriage.
diaspora.
Yes,
for marriage. We're equipping them for marriage, kingdom marriage. So we appreciate you taking the time to watch this video.
And if let's start the conversation in the comments. What do you think about dating multiple people? Do you think it's righteous and unrighteous? Do you think that there's a way to do it, and how? If that's you, if you think that we shouldn't even date and we should just wait, if you're in that camp, we'd love to hear your thoughts below. So make sure you do leave a comment.
Awesome.
Okay, peace.
Peace.